Let us begin our gathering together by rising, if you're willing and able, and we'll sing number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from around us lies, source of all to be raised, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of you and I, for the heart and mind still, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight, source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and stars align, source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, brother, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise.
And stay standing, and we'll do number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire.
Oh, I may speak with bravest fire, and have the gift to all inspire, and have my words are as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, come Spirit, the prophet soon to strangely thin. Come Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let Thee work on, guide every day. Like this we worship, abandon our free.
And you can take your seats, if you will, but we do have another song to do. And Marion doesn't know this, but she may be helping out here in a minute. We're going to sing the children. We're going to try singing the children out after the children's story, after the story of all ages, to a new song. It's number 368. And we had to make it just as easy and straightforward as possible. It has two parts. So turn in the gray hymnal to number 368, and we're going to do a practice now, so that when we sing the children out, we'll have it together. He said, hopefully. So it's Now Let Us Sing, and it has two parts. It has a part for the low voices and a part for the high voices, and you can decide which one you want to do. And in a minute, we're just going to try it, I think, and if we need to retry it, we'll retry it. And if we try it, I may get somebody who knows about music to help me. So, are we ready? Just decide whether you're a low voice or high voice, and we'll run it through once, and then maybe we'll run it through again. But are you ready? Here we go. Now let us sing. Now let us sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Great. That was really good, I thought. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Very, very good. Now, one other question. Yeah, that's it. We'll do that. So that's what we're going to do to sing the children out. That's our going out song. My name is Doug Stewart, and I'm your worship associate today. I'd like to welcome all of you to Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Thank you for being here on this summer's day. This is a come as you are congregation, and you are welcome here just as you are, with your beliefs, with your doubts, and with your wonderings. As Unitarian Universalists, we never have to act like we believe something we don't. Instead, we encourage each other's individual journey into faith and meaning, whatever that means to you. I want to extend a special welcome to any visitors. If you will, just to stay in communication, you can sign up and back, and we'll send you, Kathy Spoon's back there. She'll sign you up, and you'll get our weekly email saying what we're about. Here at Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Congregation, we foster a beloved community that celebrates diversity, strives for peace and justice, and acts mindfully for the good of the planet to inspire spiritual growth through a free and loving search for truth and meaning. This is the mission statement that we gave ourselves. We honor the ground we walk upon and acknowledge this land as the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. We recognize and honor the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land. We vow to reconcile the deep wounds that shape our world today and to lift one another up. Heaven knows there's a lot of lifting to be done. I have a few announcements. I guess the first is, what is this service about? And our theme is how my vocation informed my life. And it's not mine. We've got about 6 or 7 of us that are going to speak to answer that question. What did their vocation, how did that inform their life? And later I'm going to talk about how vocation must include caregiving that's maybe not paid for. So there's a lot of effort that goes into parenting, for example, that's not recognized with pay, but is a supremely important vocation, if you will. For announcements, this year is Namakwa's 25th anniversary since our founding. Isn't that amazing? So we're looking to party, but we're going to figure out how. We're thinking that we'll maybe get the Rialto and have kind of a bash over there. We're working on that. Right after the service, grab a cup of coffee if you're interested in partying, and we're going to do a brainstorm session in the minister's office. Unless that becomes so crowded, we need to overflow into here. So if you want to party down, figure out how to party down, we do some brainstorming in the minister's office. I think there's hard liquor in there to be served, so it'll all be good. Tomorrow, Monday, we have a very special opportunity, and I'd like to thank Steve Dansworth for organizing this. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee performs social action that is aligned with our values, with Unitarian Universalist values. And so they take action all over the United States and out into the world that's social action aligned with Unitarian Universalist values. The president of the service committee is coming here tomorrow at 5:30, and going to speak with us for an hour about what they're up to and answer any questions we have. So that's a very special opportunity. So 5:30 Monday in the social hall, president of the UUSC is going to be here with us. And there was an email that was sent out earlier this week that said 4 o'clock. That's wrong. It's 5:30. Okay? Our minister, Reverend Dana, is offering a class on hope based on an offering by Krista Tippett on the On Being radio show, if you're familiar with that one. The class meets Tuesdays twice. You only attend one session, but she's offering it at 2 times, at 11:30 in the morning or at 6:30 at night. And you can join either the late morning session, either session, either by Zoom or in person. So it's 11:30 or 6:30. We've had a session or so already, but it's an easy class to just join into. And Reverend Dana's facilitation of Krista Tippett's course is really good. So recommend that. The mindfulness group meets in Parker Hall Thursday, 10 a.m. Virtual Social Sisterhood meets by Zoom Thursday at noon. And not this coming Friday, but the Friday after that is our stint at the community kitchen. And so if you're interested in that, helping out on that to serve food to folks who are food insecure, see Sue Matthews. I don't think Sue's with us today, but Sue's the contact point for that. Next Sunday, Reverend Dana will be back in the pulpit and lead a service celebrating 200 years of Unitarianism and Universalism in this country and examine our heritage here. Coffee hour is as usual after the service, and I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved in making this service happen. Slip, of course, our speakers, our techs on sound and Zoom, our hospitality folks, our ushers, and I'm sure I'm leaving some folks out. Thank you. It takes a village to make this service happen. And with that, I'll light our chalice. We ignite this flame for the light of truth, for the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. May this time together nurture and inspire us. And now please join me in saying our congregational affirmation. Love is a spirit of this church, and service its call. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Let us share the spirit of love by greeting those around you for a minute or two. And now rise if you're willing and able, and we'll sing our next hymn.
Here we have gathered side by side. Circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek it find our kindly word. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate days of our life, matter small and great. We all of ages, women, children, men, infants of ages, sharing all we can. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regrets, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness gives as we give, we give. Marry now in friendship, this our heart's own song. Thank you. Please be seated. Kindness can heal us. As we give, we gain. Time now for our time of all ages. And do we have any young folks who want to come up and join me? And we'll read a story together. All right. Excellent. Excellent. This story is Who Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? And it looks like it was originally, What Do You Want to Do When You Grow Up? But somebody has pasted off over, Who Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? Instead of what do you want to do? So that's kind of weird. Josie leaned over Lena's sketchbook. So they're at school, you see, there's a school, and there they are, and there's Lena, and she's drawing something in her sketchbook. Josie leaned over and Lena's sketchbook. What kind of dog is that? A golden retriever, Lena said. My favorite. They're so smart. They can be guide dogs or search and rescue dogs or companion dogs. Class, Mrs. Garcia said, we've got an exciting project this week. She pointed to the board behind her. There were pictures of doctors and nurses and chefs and artists and teachers and athletes and more. So class, Mrs. Garcia peered over her glasses, what do you want to do when you grow up? Hands flew up all over the room. Has anybody thought about what they might want to do when they grow up? Any ideas? What's your idea?
Babysitter.
A babysitter? That's a good. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Anybody, do you have an idea? Sure.
A mission to save endangered species.
Something to save the endangered species. I like it. Any other ideas?
I'm gonna be a garbage truck driver.
A garbage truck driver? Okay. All right.
I know it's kind of a thanky job, but you know, it's my first favorite truck. I just like all trucks though.
Yeah, it's maybe not the fanciest job, but it's a favorite truck, is the garbage truck.
First one.
I like it.
I have many favorite trucks in the life.
I like trucks too. I think those are great. Lena sank down in her seat with her hands firmly clasped on her desk. So she doesn't want to answer, what do you want to do when you grow up? So she sank down in her seat with her hands firmly clasped. What about you, Lena? Mrs. Garcia asked. What do you want to be? The whole class, 24 pairs of eyes, turned to her and looked. She needed to answer now. What was she going to say? She glanced down at her sketchbook and blurted out, a golden retriever. She said she wanted to be a golden retriever. What did the class do? They laughed at her. Is that very nice? Yeah. No, that wasn't very nice. They laughed at her. Did I really say I wanted to be a golden retriever? Lena asked after the class. Josie nodded and put her arm around Lena. But no time to worry about that. We've got to figure out what you're going to say on career day. What about you? Lena asked. I already know, Josie said. I'm going to be a nurse so I can help people like my mom does. Yeah, Lena thought, I like helping people. Maybe I can be a nurse. That night, Lena pushed her peas back and forth across her plate. Maybe she's kind of sad, or maybe she just doesn't know what she wants to do. You're quiet tonight, her dad said. Problems at school? Lena dropped her head to the table. I'll take that as a yes, said Dad. Can I help? Only if you can tell me what I should do when I grow up, Lena mumbled. I have an idea, Mom said. Why don't you think about things you love to do and things you're good at, and think about what's important to you too. The next morning, Lena saw Jack sitting in the hallway. I can't get these math problems, Jack grumbled, and I've been working on them forever. Maybe I can help, Lena said. Jack smiled. Yes, somehow things always make sense when you explain them. I am pretty good about explaining things, Lena thought. Maybe I can be a teacher. Lena and Jose were laughing as they walked outside at lunchtime, but Lena's happiness disappeared when she saw Kelly sitting all alone again. Come, Lena said, let's sit with Kelly. That's a pretty nice thing to do. And soon the girls were chatting and giggling together. Thanks for sitting with me, Kelly said. You always cheer me up. I'm glad Kelly feels better, Lena thought. I wonder if there's such a thing as a professional cheerer-upper. Lena went to bed Thursday night as confused as ever, and career day was tomorrow. And here she is, she's thinking about maybe being a journalist or a chef or an artist. She's reading a story there, some sort of agriculture explorer. How am I supposed to pick just one thing? On Friday morning, Lena couldn't stop fidgeting in her seat. One by one, her other classmates stood up. I want to take care of animals. I want to be a marine biologist. I want to be a firefighter. I want to play professional soccer. I want to be a content creator. Does anybody know what that is? I want to race cars. I want to be a musician. Then Lena heard the words she had been dreading. It's your turn, Lena, Mrs. Garcia said. Lena's heart pounded. She took a deep breath. Suddenly she knew, I want to be a golden retriever. Somebody yelled from the back of the room. Ha, 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 ha. Mrs. Garcia quieted the class. Lena continued, I kind of do want to be like a golden retriever. They're loyal and helpful and smart. It's not just what they do, it's who they are. I don't know exactly what I want to do when I grow up, but I know the kind of person I want to be and the things that I care about. I love helping people. I'm curious. I like to learn about new things. I like math and I like cheering people up when they're sad. And here's what else I know. I don't have to do just one thing for the rest of my life. I can do a whole bunch of different things. So I'm not sure what I want to do, but I can figure that out later. I know what I want to, who I want to be, like being curious and helpful and kind, and that's the most important thing. Let's stand up and form an arch, and we're going to try to sing number 368 again. Oh, let us sing. Oh, let us sing. Thank you.
I have a reading for us now, Marge Piercy's To Be of Use, which is a poem that just touches me. Before I begin the poem, whether we've been paid or not, we have all worked, and many of us still do, at either a job for pay or as an unpaid caregiver or volunteer. For me, one of the oddest quirks about modern society is that some of the most important work there is, our caregiving efforts such as parenting or caring for a family member, are not paid for. And many jobs which center around caregiving, such as teaching and social work, are not well paid, despite their importance to our very civilization. So for our time together today, I would like to define vocation and work quite broadly, including work that keeps the roof over the heads and our children fed, but also the caregiving we provide including the caregiving that we provide that is either underpaid or for which we do simply out of duty or love, like the efforts we do together here in making us a beloved community. With this broader understanding of work, I would like to read one of my very favorite poems, Marge Piercy's To Be of Use. It uses one phrase that I didn't know when I first heard the poem, Greek amphoras, and those are basically vases, Greek amphoras. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. We are very fortunate today to have several of us who volunteered to talk about the takeaways that they have brought from their vocation that they try to apply to the rest of their life. Micah, would you start us out?
Hey everybody, my first time speaking for the pulpit, and I'm a little nervous, but it's kind of cool being up here. So let's take a deep breath here. I'm happy to be here and share kind of what I've learned from my career. I'll be entering my 12th year of education this year, and most of that time has been spent teaching middle school English in a small rural school district of Weld RE1, which is just south of Greeley. Shout out Valley Vikings. So I'll tell you this, nothing teaches you patience, perseverance, and humility like helping 7th graders become better readers and writers. For me, becoming a teacher has been as much of an inward journey as it's been an outward one. And it shapes who I am and how I move through this world. When I began teaching, I really had no clue what I was doing. And like many new teachers, I was filled and full of energy, ambition, and idealism. But the realities of the job hit hard. Within the first month, I was overwhelmed by student behaviors and a confusing curriculum, demanding state standards, the grind of grading, and the constant fear and anxiety of being non-renewed and asked not to come back the next year. I was always one step ahead of my students, desperately trying to build positive relationships and pretty much failing at that. And I honestly was just exhausted and miserable. And yet, I survived that first year, and I survived the next. And more than a decade on, I'm still an educator. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, but the most meaningful one may be this: embrace the beginner's mindset. You may have heard of this phrase before, but at its core, it means approaching each day with the eagerness and humility and openness of a novice. It means being okay with failing and looking like a total fool. And there's a lot of that in teaching, I guarantee you. It's not taking yourself too seriously and focusing on the things that bring you and others joy. Sorry, I get emotional when I talk about my job, especially something like teaching where you put everything into it. Anyways, where was I? It means never allowing learning to get old. When you're a beginner, you're always becoming. And as my life continues to unfold, I'm still becoming a better teacher, a better husband, a better father, and I hope a better human being. Thank you.
Nice. Erin, yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Erin, and from 2008 until 2023, I was a social worker. For 15 years, I worked, volunteered, or interned in a women's shelter, a hospice, an adoption agency, a community health center, a residential program for at-risk teens, a foster care program, a hospital emergency room, care coordination for folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities, child protective services, adult protective services, and vocational rehabilitation. I probably should have known by how often I changed jobs that social work wasn't for me, but hindsight. I could talk for hours about why I left social work. I won't, but to be honest, I was and am angry. I'm angry that I participated as long as I did as a cog in a system that I don't believe in. I'm angry that we as humans have made a society that only functions if some of us suffer deeply. And I'm angry that I couldn't bring about the change that I envisioned. I chose to be a social worker because when I was 18 years old, I made an attempt to end my life, which obviously was unsuccessful, and luckily, but it did result in a lengthy hospital stay. The staff there didn't really seem to have much interest in nor patience for me. I felt really deeply alone for much of my time there, up until a few days before I was going to be released. That morning, a woman I hadn't met before ran the day's mandatory group therapy sessions. I learned that her name was Kristen and that she was a social worker. It's hard to put into words what exactly she did for me throughout the rest of my hospitalization, but the simplest way to put it is that she saw me. She listened to me and she saw me. And funnily enough, she actually ended up teaching a college course of mine about 3 years later, a social work course. I approached her and explained who I was. It was awkward, but it was really nice. She told me that she remembered me and that she had had so many hopes for me and that she was proud of me. So the question of how has vocation informed my life? Well, enough time has passed now that I can, even through all of my anger, I can see my past career with more clarity. And what I see is that they can take a lot from us, but they can't take human connection. Because even through all of the oppressive systems, the bureaucratic nightmares, the capitalist BS, I still managed to see so many people. I saw them, and I listened to them, and I remember them, and I hope for them. Thank you.
And this is wonderful job.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pete Buchmeier, and I've been one of the lucky ones in life. I'm sorry? Oh, I've been very lucky in that my unremunerated, is that the way you say it, Doug?
It's good enough for me.
Life started off following my father around all over the world and all over the United States. He was a colonel in the Air Force, and my mom was one of these ones that volunteered for everything, anything and everything. And between the two of them, I learned early that there are different things, different ways of doing things all over the world, and none of them is the exact same way that you might accomplish something. I traveled, I had good teachers, and the first thing I did was figure out that I loved woodworking and I loved trees. Okay, I found out in Japan that all of the saws work pulling towards you, as opposed to the American saws where you push backward this way. I found out that the planes in Japan, you pull towards you instead of pushing away from you. And that fascinated me. I found out all about wood in Japan. I also found out that I love trees. So pretty soon I became a forester. I've traveled all over the Pacific Northwest, all to Montana and everything, counting trees and putting them on computers. I also had a whole lot of other things that came from that. It's strange, but I learned all about radios. That was part of my job, was to maintain the communication system for the foresters out in the woods. That led me to learning more about climbing mountains, all kinds of interesting things. It finally worked together where I found I was given the responsibility to help Skamania County in Washington State put a radio repeater up on a mountain. It just happens that that mountain was Mount St. Helens. Okay, so we flew up to the top of the mountain and put a radio repeater up there that was solar powered. Solar powered, who'd ever heard of solar power before? But I learned all about solar power. Okay, we've got up there, we've got this beautiful machine up there. It worked great. The communications worked between the two sides of the Mount St. Helens, which was their biggest problem, was the Mount St. Helens sat right in the middle of the county, and the west side couldn't talk to the east side. Okay, so anyway, I thought I had accomplished a great thing. unfortunately, about May 20th of 1980, Mother Nature decided that, by God, this guy ain't gonna get smart, okay? And whammo, this volcano went off, and this thing that I'd worked for so long on ended up someplace in Kansas. Okay? But it was a learning experience. It was a learning experience. So I changed my attitude, and I thought, well, maybe I ought to try building airplanes. So I went to Boeing, started working on airplanes, found out that you've got to be real precise on everything that you do to keep the airplane in the air. If you don't, it ends up on the ground. Okay, fine. So I worked real hard on that, and I was working with a group of guys that were trying to come up with a plan to take an airplane that was in its last legs, the 707. It was the last two airplanes they hadn't committed. So they went to the government and decided to come up with this airplane to fly across the oceans with this great big long antenna out and track submarines. And it fit the profile of that airplane just great. But they had to go through all this testing to make sure that it works. So they take this airplane out, unwind the antenna, go flying over Southwest Washington, start doing a tip, and make a dive. Well, just when they did that, all of a sudden, the tail of the parent airplane flew off. Who knew? Okay. So they tested it all out, and they threw a whole bunch of test equipment in there, and took off again, flew the airplane up over Southwest Washington, did this tilt, did a dive, and all of a sudden the airplane tail fell off again. Who knew? And so we went through all kinds of research and everything and found out that when they put these gas pods on the end of the wings and took the flutter out of the wings itself, all of the vibrations in that airplane went back to one place, and that was the top of the tail. So what we were doing was we flew out over Washington State, did this dive, and it created so much vibration in the airplane that it all funneled out through the top of the airplane. Boom! The tail of the airplane fell out. We had 2 planes at the end of a 1,500 plane run that we had to go back in and completely rebuild the tail of the airplane. So God was saying to us, hey, don't get too smart, okay? So anyway, I've started in on computers then. I'll be real quick here. I know I've read it too long. The computers, fascinated me, and I started playing with these computers to design various things. And I found out that when you start off with computers, it is very quick to do all the calculations that you want. But as soon as you start putting false data in, all of a sudden you come up with a bunch of garbage coming out the other end. And the first thing my professor was saying to me was, hey, computers are supposed to make things easy for you. That's what they're there for. They're to make things easy. Now, we're in a position today where computers are making our lives absolutely miserable because people are putting garbage in and then putting stuff on the wall saying, this is analyzed information, therefore it's perfect. Creating nothing but garbage. And people are listening, and these computers get faster and faster and faster and better, spending out all kinds of garbage for people to listen to. And what they need to do is just calm down, get rid of the computers, start thinking for yourself, okay? And that's what has led me to being a Unitarian today.
Well, thank you, Micah, Erin, and Pete, and we'll hear more from a couple of others of us later. Right now is our time for joys and concerns. We come together each week to share our lives and care for each other through all that life brings. Before we take the opportunity to share a brief personal joy or concern, I'd like to acknowledge the news of the day. Let's do that. Thank you. I sure did. All right. It's time for our offering. Each week, you support the work of this congregation and all the ways we live our values in the world through your own generosity. In addition to supporting this congregation, a portion of your donation supports a local nonprofit organization, helping us to make a difference beyond our walls. Today, our donations are supporting the Landing at the Matthews House, which provides a safe space for challenged youth, offering the resources and support needed to break free of cycles of poverty and abuse and move towards independence. Please support ourselves in the great work of the Landing to provide safe shelter to Loveland's youth who are housing insecure. Thank you, Slip. We have now a few more reflections on how my vocation informed my life. Anita, would you come forward?
Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. I am Anita Regmi. I am an economist by training, working in the decimal science. I spent most of my career working as a research economist, analyzing issues affecting consumer demand for food and agricultural products, and how different factors affect changes in agricultural markets and trade. So my work required me to put together teams to analyze specific questions related to these issues. The teams could comprise of people in my office as well as outside it, drawn both from US government and from research institutions and academia. Working with diverse individuals on a common goal required me to listen to people, to identify questions and issues to analyze for a topic or a project, incorporating these ideas into seeking solutions, assigning tasks to people, and trusting that they would deliver their contributions in a timely fashion. That's where I had the most fear. I was working with a lot of people from outside, and I had no control over them. I was working in a group of peers with no supervisory control, and many of my partners were from academia with tenure. So they had really little incentive to move at the pace I wanted them to move. So it was difficult. I learned through trial that the best way to really make this be a success was to listen to people, and even though it was difficult, to trust that they would meet the deadlines. So it was hard. So the life lessons from this was this, that I learned. And again, it wasn't that I learned right away. It was partly looking back in hindsight that whenever we listen to people and to the most possible extent that we can, incorporate their ideas into whatever we were working on, and trust that they will deliver, they will deliver. So that is the lesson that I learned, and I try to do that in everything that I do, including right now working in Namakwa, working with hospitality or building. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen, but I send an email out, and by the end of the month, it works out that I have people that who need to help me. So that's my life's lesson, a little bit from academia and research. This is all I have worked in most of my life. It was short. Doug told me 300 words, and I put it to 300 words.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. So for those of you that don't know, Anita is my wife. So I am also an economist. We met in grad school at the University of Minnesota, where we did our economics PhDs together. I think Garrison Keillor said the definition of an argument is two economists in the same room. That hasn't been the case for us. We get along great. We've had 37 beautiful years of marriage. And economics is actually not the dismal science, it's a beautiful science. I love analyzing the interactions of human behavior, government policy, and the market supply and demand factors. And to get paid for it is just like my wildest dream. So beyond my training, my professional career as an economist has spanned 3 distinct phases. First, I spent 8 years working as an international agricultural economist. I was going to save the world, but the US government didn't think that was something worthwhile, and they quit investing in it back starting in the Reagan years. And so those opportunities became few and far between. And at that time, our first daughter came along, and so I quickly switched fields and took a job with the US Department of Agriculture, where I worked as a commodity analyst for 10 years, which I loved. But from there, I jumped to working for the US Congress, as an agricultural specialist, helping out on foreign policy. And when Doug first asked me to do this, I sat down and I started writing, and the next thing I knew, I'd written out about 2,000 words
complaining about U.S. farm policy and how all the subsidies go to the rich farmers and how you cannot convince a congressman to do the right thing. Even they know what the right thing is, they won't do it. But I thought, I'm going to not do that, so I'll talk about something else. So I thought, looking at it broadly, rather than, I've got a lot of stories on all these work experiences, and they're best told in a bar over beer, I think. So what I was going to talk about today is, so I say, while I've learned many valuable lessons from these years of work experience, I'm afraid I don't have any unique revelations that might transmit well to our setting, but I'll share with you a couple of core insights that have relevant implications for my and our current activities. First, through the years, I've noticed the most successful projects in terms of both viability and sustainability are those where the project beneficiaries have invested both time and resources in the results. In other words, they have skin in the game. If you're just giving something to somebody, it's just not going to work. It won't be sustainable. And that only works in an emergency relief setting. So that's my first insight. Doesn't transmit too well here, but the second one is a little more relevant for us. It's somewhat similar to the first point, and that is that group or team activities are generally more successful and certainly more fun if all the participants feel invested in the project and are allowed and encouraged to participate with ideas and labor. A team rarely works if it devolves to one person giving orders and trying to run the show, while many other participants probably disagree with what's going on. In the end, everyone's time is wasted and nothing useful is produced. How have these lessons benefited me? Well, I've learned to tell when a project or a group activity is going in the wrong direction, and I try to steer clear of it. Fortunately for all of us here at Namakwa, so far anyway, all the group activities I've found that I've been associated with have been very participatory and fun. Everyone is encouraged to participate, and I say, let it be so forever.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Lute. Doug asked me to speak, and in true Unitarian fashion, I understood the assignment and chose to go a slightly different direction with it. And I'm probably also going to run over time, but hopefully not too much. So as Unitarians, we don't really talk about belief. It's not something that comes up a lot. It can make us uncomfortable. But one thing that I believe, and I think many people in here share this, is the belief in the value of life, all life, not just human life, but all the animals that we saw last week, and all the tomatoes and squash refusing to ripen in my garden as we speak. I think that all of that life is valuable and precious. And you kind of find this sentiment in the seventh principle, the Unitarian principles, the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. A phrase that twists itself into a pretzel to avoid ending on a preposition. So as an engineer, I'm really especially uncomfortable with belief, right? It's not belief that keeps the planes in the air that Pete was talking about. It's a lot of people doing good science and good work. So I like things that are knowable and provable and grounded in solid scientific principles. And so it kind of occurred to me to interrogate this belief in the value of life. Is it just belief, or can you actually find some scientific rationale to explain it? And so I thought, obviously the second law of thermodynamics, right? So there's many different interpretations of this law, but the one that I feel is relevant is the entropy of a closed system always increases. So entropy is a measure of randomness or chaos. It's the reason why, if a cup falls to the ground, it'll break into pieces. You'll never see those pieces spontaneously reassemble themselves into a cup. If you take a box of marbles and you put all red ones on one side and all blue ones on another, and you shake it for a while and you open the box, you wouldn't expect them to still be all red on one side and all blue on the other, right? It's countered our intuition. We'd expect them to be random, to be mixed together, right? Because that's what physics does. Things become more chaotic, more random over time. So life then is the big exception to that rule, right? Life is self-organizing matter. When you take a seed and you plant it in the ground, it takes carbon from the air and nutrients from the soil and water and sunlight, and it forms a pattern. And it forms a pattern that's so predictable and so precise that you can look at the pattern in the bark and the leaves, and you can know exactly what kind of seed it came from. Or at least my dad could. He knows his trees pretty well. But, you know, everything else in life is exactly the opposite. It just falls into chaos. You know, children are engines of entropy. Your home will never be more orderly after they depart than it was when they arrive. But you see this all the time in life. You know, the same children that make your house chaos can take in McDonald's chicken nuggets and refined sugar and turn it into human beings somehow. There's a quote that I read a while back that it tickled me and it amused me and stuck with me over the years. It says, life is when the lithosphere gets up and starts crawling around. The lithosphere being the outer surface of the earth. It's how, you know, the carbon and nitrogen and phosphorus from the soil, from the earth, come together and form sweet corn and songbirds and babies and old friends. So what about human life? Is there anything special about us, or are we just another form of life crawling around this rock? I think one of our unique values as a species lies in our ability not only to organize ourselves and our bodies, but our knowledge. We are the universe observing itself. We are, as far as I know, the only species capable of observing and understanding the patterns around us and seeing the order that's forged by all of this life. Without us, everything would still exist, but it would be a tree falling in the woods making no sound. So finally, in that broken cup example, the laws of physics prevent the cup from reassembling itself. It takes an outside actor putting its hands on those pieces and putting them back together. So when we think about life, whose hands are taking those raw materials and forging them together? Who's taking this and stitching these raw elements together to form all the wonderful plants and animals that we see around us? You know, as Unitarians, we don't talk about God a lot, and I'm not smart enough to know anything about God, but that's where I would start to look. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, Randy, and Chris. Now let's do joys and concerns. We come together each week to share our lives and care for one another and through all that life brings. But before sharing the personal and brief joy or concern, I would like to acknowledge the news about the world and our administration's actions. Many of us, I know, carry deep grief even over the unraveling of what our country has built over many generations and the abject cruelty that's being perpetrated by our current administration. I'd like us to take a moment of silence in solidarity with those who are and will feel harm. Let's all take a deep breath and let it out. And one more deep breath in. And let it out. And a last deep breath in. And let it out. Thank you. And now, if you have a brief personal joy or concern you'd like to share, please come forward or raise your hand and I'll bring the mic to you. And if you're on Zoom, you can type a joy or a concern in the chat and we'll read it out after those here have spoken.
Hi, I'm Tam. Thank you, Pat. He's so good. Two joys. Number one, Betty Osceola, a Miccosukee indigenous educator from the Everglades, did a shout out and asking for prayers for the Everglades. Just got back on an airplane first thing this morning. I flew down for all of the religious and even some of the non-religious leaders, all the spiritual leaders of Southwest Florida. We gathered right in front of Alligator Alcatraz. And Betty took a huge piece of canvas and she wrote, "God is watching." And for her people, they call God Creator. But to be more ubiquitous, she wrote the sign, "God is watching." And there were over 80 people of faith to come and pray in just right in front of this this establishment. And it was a very dark spirit at 8 a.m., but after 4 hours of prayer, we had rabbis there, we had Christian leaders, we had yoga teachers, we had Buddhists, we had Hindu people, every faith came. I represented Namakwa, and there were 2 other UU churches from Southwest Florida that showed up, and young people and old, and it was the most beautiful, blissful, joyful concentration because it was indigenous-led. It wasn't a protest, it was a prayer, and we had people on Zoom and on Facebook Live all the way from the other side of the planet. So about 8,000 people were praying for Mother Earth in this very delicate ecosystem, and this is what the indigenous people of Southwest Florida are asking for us. The folks that are causing the harm are misinformed. We are praying for them to let the light in. We're not bringing and sending them anger and frustration and why we are sending them. We love you. There's no such thing as an other. We are all of the soil. We are all of Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is healing, and we're healing together. And my second joy is Alex brought the dog to the airport, and I'm covered in dog hair, and that's awesome.
Thank you, Tam.
Good morning. So Mary Ellen and I left a month ago. We went first to the Black Hills of South Dakota to go to a Sundance. So we were there, stayed with a friend of ours in Sturgis, which is right by Bear Butte, so we got to visit. Then from there, we went to Illinois, about 2 hours west of Chicago, to the Spiritual Unity of Tribes Gathering of Eagles that we've been involved with for about 20 years over. And then after that, we went to Indianapolis, where Mary Ellen is from, and spent 2 weeks with her mom. And now we're back. And then we got back Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning, friends of ours from France flew in. They're on their way to South Dakota. So we're just really happy to be back.
We're glad you're back too.
Hi, I'm Vicki. I've been gone a while too. Some of you know I got to go to the family reunion back in Tennessee, which was a wonderful, wonderful family time and respite for me. And everything went well with Jeff and my husband while they were at home. And speaking of my husband, I've known him since 2nd grade, and this Wednesday we will celebrate 64 years together.
Wow. That's awesome.
Morning, Leonard here. Cherry and I had the best 4th of July that we've had probably in 20 years. We went to Longmont, to the park. It was full of people with red, white, and blue and all kinds of costumes. There were 0 political signs, 0 protest signs. There was a singing group sang a lot of down traditional songs. A symphony played. Darth Vader conducted one of the pieces. They did some Erin Kullman, Hoedown, and during the symphony, the kids got to get up and help conduct the symphony. It was just a marvelous day, totally positive, and it was really fun to see a good old-fashioned 4th of July.
A lot of good words today, and it triggered some joys for me. One is about the 25th anniversary of the founding of this church, and I wasn't around then, but there's another anniversary this year that's very joyful, which is the 10 years since we bought and moved into this church that we're all enjoying today. So that's a huge joy, and I have to kind of leapfrog the vocational part, which was I was a assistant leader for the effort, and my vocation of project management of IT and computers, unfortunately. No, that was a good thing. Just that lent so much to my life, and my life, you know, in this church especially, that we were able to do something very complicated with a lot of people, and my STEM background wasn't as important as my project management background, where you learn the soft skills and things Randy talked about, project, what makes it successful. So I was really glad that my vocation helped lend itself to acquiring and moving into this church, which kind of also triggers for me just a little bit of sorrow, because some people that were very key in that effort are no longer with us, and I really do miss them and value them. Nancy Kane in particular is one of them, who was our president and a great leader and a council person in Loveland. And Barbara Fleming, another longtime member and a key person to accomplish a lot. So, but it's a joy to have known them and for them to have been a part of my life and a part of this church.
And Dick Barton was instrumental in getting this building as well. Sure enough. Any other, anything on Zoom? Nothing on Zoom, all right. For these joys and concerns, let's just hold. Oh yeah, yep. Okay, sure.
See if this works. From Janet Gillette, I've been having a lot of health issues, and following oral surgery and other surgery, I hope to be back with you all.
So, Janet, take care of yourself. Let's just hold a moment here rather than have a piece. And now we have Karen Brock, who would close out our reflections.
Hi. It's so good to be with all of you. I have had many vocations in my 45 years of working. I have been a tit jock, which means I milked cows on a dairy farm, a bookseller, a book buyer, which means I bought all the bestsellers for a large bookstore chain, a teacher, a writer, an editor, and most recently, a Peace Corps volunteer. While I've been able to apply specific lessons from myriad vocations to my life, there seems to me a common denominator at work in each of them. which is the value and the power of developing relationships. I want to tell a short story about a relationship I formed with a magazine editor about 15 years ago. Everyone at the publishing company where we worked together called her Dragon Lady and other less repeatable epithets. She was my boss and created a stressful and terribly negative working environment. Others who'd worked as her assistant always left after a year or two, and I was at that point. Guessing that some hard experiences or disappointments had rendered her such a bitter person, I tried to be compassionate, but that helped me only to survive, not to thrive. I loved my job, but recognized that I had to address the problem if I was going to stay. One day, when her actions and nastiness to a colleague and me were so egregious, I took her into a conference room and laid it all out. It was the most difficult professional conversation I've ever had. It lasted over an hour. She didn't realize the effects of her behavior on me or others. She didn't realize other editors had actually left the team or her company because of her caustic attitude. At the end, she thanked me. No one, she said, somewhat dismayed, has ever told me. After that talk, a new person gradually began to show up in the office. One who stopped herself when she was about to say something mean. One who began to show vulnerability, who laughed and even praised others occasionally. One who began to share some of her life story in small but meaningful pieces. Life in the office wasn't all good all the time, but facing each other openly, honestly, she and I began the hard work of building relationship. I worked at that job for 3 more years before I moved on. So whether it's a cantankerous old cow or a cantankerous old editor, taking the time to establish a relationship, a strong relationship, allows everything to succeed. So I'll close with the opening stanza from William Stafford's poem. You knew there'd be a poem, right? This is from William Stafford's poem, A Ritual to Read to Each Other. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. Thank you.
Sing just the 3 first stanzas of our closing hymn, number 301. Walk on shores while spirits fly, over the ocean, over the land, our faithful quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky, children as the reasons why. In our lives the answers show, and by our love they learn and grow. Touch the earth and reach the sky, we are born, we will die. There's a time in between to build our throne. To extinguish our chalice, I'll say these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, for the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Join us for coffee and conversation, and remember, if you want to party down and brainstorm that, meet in the minister's office. Thank you.